Hello guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, welcome to my channel. This is only the second video, but here we are, out here doing it to 'em. In today's video, we are going to be talking about YouTube's golden child, top internet groomer, Gregory James Jackson, also known on the platform as Onision, or, Onion Boy. This video is the first in my series breaking down Onision on a fundamental, criminal, and psychological level to the best of my abilities. Basically, the more I hear about Greg, the angrier I get. Seriously, if I spend more than just 5 seconds thinking about him, I want to literally rip out my own eyeballs and scream until I have no voice left which to speak with. He, as a person, is the most infuriating thing on the planet, and we will get into it throughout this series. Also, I just want to note, yes, I will be referring to him mostly as Greg, because I know that with how deeply and disturbingly often or close he monitors and pays attention to talk of him online, I know it is actually very likely he will see this video despite me being a very small creator. So I know that will piss him off, and I live for that. I want to be on Greg's shit list so bad. I want him to block me on Twitter and Instagram and just think about me as another member of the anti-O community that wants to see him taken down. Because that is exactly right. Anyway, I have no idea how many videos there will actually be in this series, since it's an ongoing investigation and thing just happening out in the world. There's just, we're talking about an onion. And with onions, you have layers. So this is just layer number 1 of the onion that we're going to be starting out with, since I figured it would be easiest for my sanity to start at the very beginning. So this video itself will likely leave you with more questions than answers. So I will have the videos that I watched that kind of clued me into all of this linked in the description down below. Please, I encourage you to go watch those while you wait for me to put out more videos on this, because it will be a lengthy process, to say the least. But, with all of that out of the way, let's just jump into it. And if we're starting at the beginning, we need to start with Greg's cult. Yes, Onion Boy started, or at least tried to start, a religion about 15 years ago that is just overall very culty. Now, in this video, I'm not going to be discussing too heavily the more culty, weird, strange factors of his religion, cult, whatever you want to call it, but I do have the link with the Wayback Machine to his cult's website in the description down below if you want to go through it all yourself. I initially recorded the voiceover for this, going through the website in its entirety, and I realized that after 40 minutes of voiceover later, that a lot of it was kind of out of the scope for what I want to tackle on this channel, which I would like to keep things very much in the patriarchal, fighting, rape culture, discussing, education bits of this. So if you want to look into any of that, one of the videos I have linked down below, Repzion talks about it at the beginning of his video. It's kind of long, but it's definitely worth the watch. You can go to the website yourself, and I've also linked 2 videos by Creepshow Art talking about Onision's cult in its entirety that I feel do a very good job on that, so please go look at those in the description after you are done watching this video. And, yeah. So, since we're not going to be talking too much about the more culty aspects of it, we are going to be focusing on the parts of his religion that pretty much really showcase his behavior from 15 years ago that is very similar, and I would argue exactly the same as to his behavior and beliefs that he has today in the year of our Lord 2020 that are kind of, rather alarming, to say the least, on it. We will start, though, with the main page of his cult, or whatever you want to call it. So it's the homepage. So Onision Greg called his religion Seseska. It has a nice little, header at the top. I will be putting all the screenshots I have that are relevant on the screen when they are relevant. So he says, when reason ends, so does life. Interesting. And he says, welcome viewers of Seseska. So I will just read this for our listening pleasure in my dulcet tones. All right. So the literary documents provided on this site introduce and evaluate an amazing reality which is now finding homes in millions of information-hungry minds all over the earth. Are they, Greg? Are they really? Because I believe that the only time I ever heard of this was because of everyone breaking down your psyche now that it has come out that you are a disgusting groomer who just is a criminal. But anyway, I digress. I'll try to cut back on the roasts in this video. I'll save them for later, in later videos. But for the recorded years of humanity, one of the many questions before intrigued minds has revolved around the most important topic of all subjects. What is existence for? How do we exist? Seseska has become an answer to the vital questions concerning our lives through logical yet amazing facts involving the past and present world. Now, I will just chime in again and say, as I go on with Greg's mentality and his basis in some of the things for this religion of his, they're not very logical, nor amazing facts. So, keep that in mind as we go on here. But, anyway, those capable of understanding Seseska and the perspectives provided will find the keys so many have been searching for. Today, you have the opportunity to observe an alternative mentality. I'm losing brain cells by the second. A path divided from the default standards involving simple beliefs that have convinced most all one time or another. Existence is a seemingly complicated subject that so few have neared a proper conclusion to define beyond mere present time. Diversions through methods involving excuses such as downing human capabilities are oftentimes given freely to avoid confrontation of the reality at hand. We have the ability to explain ourselves, and here you will find out how true this statement really is. You have entered a new section of human comprehension. Those seeking a meaningful answer to settle what no system of beliefs has before will continue on through the pages our work has to offer. All others visiting us today will continue their lives devoid of these rare perspectives. The choice is yours. So, basically, despite me not going into great depths on this, I will just say, for context, throughout the different tabs of his website, through like the answers, inexplicable social ethics of Seseska, Greg basically, he comes up with a few vocabulary words that are unique to his religion, that make zero sense and have no concrete definition or way to obtain these so highly sought after things within this religion he's created. He also talks about aliens. He basically talks about vibe checks, and it's kind of a little bit, I don't know, it's madness. It's kind of absolute madness. But he also, talks about some things that speak on a more psychological and behavioral level rather than just his diluted religious teachings, I would say. So that brings us to our next little screenshot from here. So we'll go into our purpose tab, and this kind of speaks more to the cult aspects versus the behavioral stuff, but you can kind of see where I'm going with it and why I still thought it was relevant. So, in the Sisescan way of life, one can easily find that the logistics involve little shades of black and white, but rather a world of color, with many depths and many realities that you specifically can choose to follow, while in the process being rather accurate as to the genuine truth revolving around our lives. We are indeed destined to serve and protect our earth when it needs us most. However, with emotions such as love, satisfaction, and pride, we are to satisfy self, which in the end can help create greater strengths in our fight for our survival. So basically, to break that down, I just want to point out that him choosing the emotions love, satisfaction, and pride kind of speaks volumes to me, because you will find out in later videos that Greg is a manipulator who uses tactics like love bombing to sway people to his side and to get them to trust him and stuff like that. And he focuses very much on his own satisfaction and pride and success. And so this is it's a small little tidbit, but it's very telling as to Greg's mindset, if you can kind of see where I'm going with this. So not only does he just use those three examples as emotions, but he says that not only are we to protect the earth, which is his biggest claim in this religion that our purpose is, but we are also to focus heavily on satisfying ourselves. And that strengthens us and helps us to survive, which, based on a lot of the things that Greg has done and a lot of his sexual perversions, to say the least, I would argue that we don't necessarily need sex to survive or satisfaction in that sense. I know Greg would probably argue that, he has an impregnation fetish, and I think that he would argue that that would kind of be along well, we need to reproduce to keep the earth going and this and that, and it just, in my head, I can see his mindset on it, and it is very alarming, to say the least. But I digress on that. So that's my big takeaway from the Our Purpose section. And then he goes into talking about the afterlife, and I have titled this screenshot in my folder, quote unquote, "You deserve your abuse." So basically, this goes into his vocabulary, which I'm not going into. It's just all very convoluted and delusional. But basically, Greg says that when we die, how we lived our lives determines whether we're going to be human again, but also it determines the quality of life we have in our next life. So basically, if you break this down, this is basically Greg saying that if you are abused or hurting or depressed or just any of these awful things, it's because in a past life you did something so horribly wrong that now you deserve to experience this in your current life. So, the only way to really fight this or lead a better life in the future is to really reflect on this and have a new perspective on your life, so that way you can go into the next life having, lived a positive life this time around. And it's all just, it's so hard to wrap my head around. He also says that if you're handicapped or disabled, it's because you picked on people who are physically weaker than yourself. And so you just need to change that perspective so you can live a better life the next go around. It's all very messed up, honestly. And it just, even now in, mind you, this was 2004 to 2006. And this is all just his mindset hasn't changed, which boggles the mind, because normally, as a human, we grow and adapt and change, and our mindset changes as we grow over the years. This is like 15, 16 years ago, and Greg's mindset has not changed. Like, personally, if I look back to 3 years ago to the things I was thinking, that is a completely different person. But with Greg, 15 years has passed, and he is still exactly the same. And I don't understand that in the slightest. It's mind-boggling, it's insanity, and it's very upsetting. But anyway, now we get into the things that really kind of fall under my umbrella here on this little corner that I'm carving out for myself on YouTube. So we get into Greg's Seceskin beliefs on sexuality. And in this tab, he basically says that there are different values on the different genders, and the two genders aren't just different genders, but they're two different classes. And so he also says that women are less valuable or a lower class because they have less physical strength, and that males and females are meant to complement each other, and they're there for companionship, but also to fuel each other's egos, which is very telling for Greg because he is very egotistical. If you look on any of his social media or in any of his videos, he puts himself on this very high pedestal, even though arguably he shouldn't. But also at some point in like one of the blog posts on his website that I actually could not find, but Repzion did, and he goes onto it in his video, and the beginning of his video, that Greg considers himself a god because he can affect people's emotions. Now this is very, very narcissistic, and also just completely illogical for a way of thinking, because every single human can affect other people's emotions. The weather affects people's emotions. Animals affects people's emotions. Like, you are not God just because if you give someone a compliment, they smile. Like, that, I don't know where you get off thinking this, Greg, but it's just, no, it's wrong. You are not a god. You will never be a god. See, he makes me so viscerally angry, but anyway. He also basically just says that men are dominant, and they have this desire for dominance, and that women need to appreciate that, and that's just how it needs to be, which I have a lot of issues with, because that in and of itself is just the epitome of rape culture right there. And it also, again, speaks to Greg's psyche and behavior, because he sees himself as dominant to women. If you look on a lot of his tweets, which honestly I haven't gotten the screenshots for them yet for this video. I will have screenshots that show this in a later video, but Greg talks about dominating women and women being submissive to him, and that he's in control and he's in charge, and it kind of goes beyond that BDSM like section of kinks and all that, and like, not to kink shame anyone, not to yuck anyone's yum, but it's just the way that he does it is very alarming. And maybe it's just because I see him and these tweets through the filter and the mindset of Greg has done a lot of these awful things. He has been proven to groom underage girls. He has sexually coerced at least one girl into having sex with him, which is rape. And so, I see these things through that lens. So, take my opinion with a grain of salt, but also maybe you should see them through that lens too. Not for everyone, but specifically for Greg when he talks about this, because, it's very telling. And then this last screenshot that I have is from one of those blog posts. It's a screenshot that I honestly don't remember how I found this. I found this like a month ago before we were all in quarantine due to the current state of the world. But this is basically just a nice little introduction. It's titled Hello Viewer, and I'm just going to read it to you. And then I will go into talking about some of the screenshots that were in Repzion's video that I wasn't able to find, but I feel that I should chime in on based on the content of them, which I'll get into. So let me just read this little hello viewer thing for all of you. So, my name is Gregory J. Daniel. I am a man of dignity, integrity, and today I look on our society in recognition of what mockery we have become due to lack in enforcement of rape crimes that occur every moment of every day. I am here to tell you not all men are bad people. However, it is best to see all individuals as potential hostiles and potential victims. We all have the power to do terrible things, yet it is choice in the end that divides the pure-hearted from the others. Let the pure of heart be you, male or female. You have the ability to fight negativity in this world, and in this moment you will. If you have been violated in the past, let the possibilities for more single-sided attacks end now. If you fear future violation, learn from this sight. Know you are strong, and you can get through any terrible event with your strength of heart, mind, and body. You are a rapist's worst nightmare. You are a rapist's nightmare. Make it so. Not too long ago, I was appalled by suggestions that women dress themselves up as if they were homeless or mentally handicapped just to avoid an attack. This is terrible advice, as hostiles do not always choose based on attraction. They do it off of who looks most vulnerable, weakest. Today you will learn how to defend yourself. When you are through, you will find what true freedom is. Dress how you like, live how you like, and be prepared for the worst, for if you are, no attacker will ever be able to walk away without they themselves being a victim. The day you give up is the day they win. We will not let anyone take advantage again. We are too strong for that. Together, this world is truly wonderful as the light always sends away darkness. You are the light. So, let's just revel in this for a little bit, okay? I'm gonna leave it on the screen for a tiny little bit more, and okay, I'm ready. Like, I get the sentiment, but knowing who it comes from ruins it all. And it's very not all men-y, which completely misses the point. And it's very, it very much lacks some basic logic on this, and it's when saying that you should see everyone either as potential hostiles or potential victims, that very much speaks to both the perpetrator and the survivor, because it's basically giving the go-ahead to the perpetrator to look at everyone. And yes, it's not always attraction, it's very much a power dynamic when it comes to rape, but just talking down to women that do what they can to avoid being attacked is just so wrong. And I honestly sound confused because I kind of am, because I'm looking at this knowing what I'm going to talk about next, and it's all just very blatant contradictions of himself that basically boil down to, again, the epitome of rape culture and blaming women, and that is all kinds of messed up. So basically he's saying that if you believe that you're strong and that you can defend yourself and that you can do whatever you want, and you're just confident that no one will ever attack you, and that's so not based in reality, because really it can happen to anyone, literally anyone, man, woman, non-binary, strong perceived person versus weak perceived person. It could happen to a bodybuilder, it could happen to a handicapped or disabled person. I'm not entirely sure what is the best term for that, but literally can happen to anyone, and just being confident in the fact that it won't happen to you does not change anything. And so going on in some other screenshots that I was not able to find myself, and I did not feel right just lifting them from someone else's video, but there's more screenshots of Greg talking about rape and his thoughts on it. And again, you will just, once you hear these, you'll see just the blatant contradictions in different blog posts of himself, which is just, so you can just tell that he is very much policing victims and women, mostly, because they're mostly aimed towards women, completely ignoring the fact that men could be raped too. And, yeah, so again, this is where I really feel that it falls under my umbrella. So even though I don't have the screenshots, you can see them in Repsion's video, I still felt that it was important for me to touch base on it, because this is very much my wheelhouse here on YouTube. So, here are some of Greg's thoughts on rape and me just being angry about them. So, again, Greg believes that rapists pick those who look vulnerable, which, again, because it is a power dynamic, that is true to some extent, but also, again, it can happen to literally anybody. Greg, in different statements, says that rape is avoidable, but also hard to prevent, which is really contradictory. So I don't know where he gets off on either of those ideas, but he also gives some, tips that are very basic and baseless and very much victim-blaming bullshit. Like basically saying that alcohol can lead to rape, and that rapes occur more in places where there are rooms, which that just sounds so fucking stupid to me. But, whatever. Okay, Greg, sure. So, Greg also encourages anyone who is being attacked to always fight back, but also not to be paranoid. Even though in that one, he said to view everyone as a potential hostile or a potential victim, which sounds very paranoid to me, Greg. I don't get it. Explain it to me, maybe. So, I will say, I know in a different blog post, he posted, different tips on what to do if you're being attacked, and one of them was to appear crazy or mentally ill, which, I'll say the next one, because I don't remember all of them. I don't care to look back on them because I'm already very, very angry, and Repsion does a really good job talking about it in his video. But he also says, along with making yourself appear mentally ill, but to also maybe pee yourself, as that'll deter someone from raping you, which, again, yes, kind of, but also it's a power dynamic, and a lot of people that. If you also don't want to do anything to anger someone if you're in that situation, because, like it or not, that is a matter of life and death, and sometimes you just can't fight back. That also just blatantly disregards that most, I don't remember the statistic, but it disregards that a lot of people will completely freeze up in those situations. They are paralyzed. They can't do anything. So is it their fault if they freeze and they can't fight back? Because it's not. It never is the victim's fault. Ever. No matter what. He also says that if you don't report your rape immediately, you are just as bad as the rapist, and you condone rape, which is just entirely lacking in any empathy and completely disregards trauma, because reporting in itself is a very traumatic experience. I'm working on a video about reporting right now that kind of goes through the ins and outs of what it's like to report and statistics around reporting and all that. But in short, basically, reporting, when you report, a lot of police officers don't have trauma-based training given to them, so they don't know how to respond in a way that's not going to further traumatize the survivor. And so it's very hard. And then if you go and you press charges, then you're traumatized even further. And it's just, not to mention how, like, so few rapists even see a day in jail. So, like, it's just, it boggles the mind how anyone can think this and be so stuck firmly in their own ass to believe that this is 100% right and logical and completely disregards any statistics, any trauma, any empathy, just all of it. Anyway, I'm gonna basically leave it here. I'm angry, as I always am talking about Greg. I completely had to scrap what I did, hoping that this would be a shorter recording, and it's like, maybe 10 minutes shorter. It's still very long. But leave any questions you have about Onision in the comments down below so I can make sure to address all of them in future videos on Greg. Leave a like if this was insightful to you in any way. If you have any personal stories and you want to talk and maybe get some extra resources, I have them. I can give them to you. I used to volunteer for a nonprofit that gave me a lot of resources and everything. Feel free to reach out to my email. It started with emilydoe@gmail.com. Please share this video around to educate some other people further, and subscribe if you haven't, if you want to see more videos of mine. Also, don't forget to check out Repsion and Creepshow Art's videos down in the description bar down below. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful night. Bye.